All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay Myrex. Just wanted to start streaming. I haven't done this in quite some time, but yeah, um, got inspired this past weekend to do some more iOS based stuff. So I've been pretty much working on like iPad and iPhone. I just wanted to talk about like touch and iOS and stuff, and just touch screens in general. I'm gonna broadcast on Twitter a bit, so let me just let me open that up a little bit so we can get some more people in here. Now, I'm gonna share that. Y'all shared it. Let's see here. Some more people in here. Let's see what's happening. Boom. So I got. Let me see. All right. Cool. Cool. Let's get the chat room going in here. Okay. So let me say. Yeah, we're live. All right. Cool. So anyhow, so I got inspired this weekend to do some work on iOS. I've been using like a lot of different software over the past few years since I got like an iPad and once I moved over to iPhone. So, one of the things that I found interesting about iOS and touchscreen interfaces in general is that it removed one of those like dynamics that I always hated about the computer. It just removed that whole use of peripheral devices such as like a keyboard and mouse and trackpad and all that stuff. Anybody that knows me or have ever followed me knows that I'm really adamant about this whole tactile hardware thing. I mean, I can make beats on anything. I can make beats on the computer. I can make beats, wherever. But the thing is, for me, tactile hardware has a much faster workflow for me. It feels better. One of the things that I always found myself gravitating towards tactile hardware is that the mouse was always feeling slow for me. The mouse always felt like it was a abstract extension of my hand, and I felt like it would always create a boundary or some type of like just disruption in the workflow. So once companies started coming out with these integrated solutions like Machine and MPC Renaissance later and all that kind of stuff, that really helped me in the software domain because honestly I would have been just like forget that. For the most part it's cool if I need to do something fast, if I need to turn in something quick and I don't have time to track or something, but I probably would have been hardware excuse me, I probably would have been on hardware for a minute until something like that came out. But the touch and the iOS stuff, that really intrigued me because that's just that abstract layer of that mouse and keyboard being removed really changes the game for me. So, one of the problems that I had when I first started with the iOS stuff though is that a lot of the software wasn't cutting it. Like just to be 100%, a lot of the software that was available, I mean, it was cool if you wanted to record, say like band or something like that, or you wanted just to be able to record yourself, writing a song idea, vocal lines and, just a basic melody and or harmony or basic drum beat, and you didn't care about what the drums sounded like or the keys sounded like or whatever, cool. There was software like GarageBand where you could do that. I felt like GarageBand was kind of more oriented towards the singer-songwriter type. And that's not really who I am at the heart of things. At the heart of things, I'm more of like, I would say I'm a beat maker producer. So, it starts with the beats for me. So just the whole idea of using something like GarageBand never really appealed to me. There's other software that are out there that you can do some things with, and it was kind of like, you can get like a basic idea going. And I thought that was cool, but at the same time, I like to be able to like really go in, and like if I'm engaged in something, I like to not be disrupted. So the idea of, say, getting partially into a beat and then having to feel like I got to go somewhere else always was like, that didn't really appeal to me either. So it wasn't really a good reason for me to mess with iOS and stuff like that. But there's other software out now. As the years have progressed, it's been other software that come out that have really taken things to another level. And I feel like now you pretty much have no excuse for not being able to make beats. If you have some type of device at this point, laptop, iPhone, iPad, you can make beats now. You know what I mean? Like I was like, this weekend I went on vacation, went on a cruise for a little bit with my wife, and we had a good time. And during the downtime on the cruise, there was points where it wasn't nothing happening on the cruise ship or whatever. We'd be at the cabin, just I'd be making beats. She'd be watching TV or whatever. I had the headphones on, had my iPad, and I was making beats, and I had like a little LPK controller. And I mean, trust me, like when I say making beats, like I was really making beats. You know what I mean? I felt like what I was doing was similar to what I could do on, say, just a full hardware setup, like my full hardware home setup. Like I'll play a beat right now actually that I made this weekend. So yeah, I really could get it in with the iOS now, like touch screens in general. I feel like the workflow is a lot more engaging. Like I was sitting there, for me, when I'm on a computer, after a while, I really start to get fatigued being on a touchpad, trackpad, mouse, or whatever. It's fatiguing for me because I feel like the ergonomics of it, I never could feel like the ergonomics felt right for me. I'm not like a non-technical guy. Just if you don't know my background, like I came into music production, but I actually was going to school for computer engineering. I graduated with my degree in computer engineering. So I'm not like a non-technical person. It's just that the fact of the matter is that keyboard and the mouse and trackpad and whatever other peripheral you want to talk about, they always felt like they were just not ergonomically correct. I mean, I've tried a lot of stuff. I have a lot of different devices. You know what I mean? I have a lot of devices, but touchscreen, if you have a touchscreen that's large enough, it can feel really good. And, you know, with the iPad, it feels really good. You know, it feels good to be able to touch different functions and not have to do like key commands and things like that. Because, I mean, let's be realistic. You know, key commands are cool. I mean, key commands are a great thing. I feel like key commands really can help the workflow if you have you've memorized all the key commands. But for me, coming from the days of hardware instruments, you know, hardware instruments didn't have key commands. So a key command for me is an extra step. Now you created an extra layer between what I want to accomplish and how that's going to happen. And, you know, the extra step is, it's a memory thing. Of course, you know, you can memorize key commands, but I use a lot of different software. And, you know, the thing is now, I feel like the quicker you can make the process for me, the easier that it will be for me to get my idea out. So, you know, one of the reasons I liked hardware was because with hardware, pretty much all the buttons had like a specific function. So they were labeled. So you knew, like, if I press this button's going to be shift. This button's going to be save. This button is going to be back to the main screen. This button is going to be sampling. So, you know, hardware had its advantages because it had, you know, direct buttons that had functions assigned to them, and I didn't have to guess what it was. But, you know, with a key command is like, a key command could change depending on what software I'm using. So that's one abstract layer that I don't like about it. It can change regardless of what software, you know, what software I am in at the time. It could be a different function. It could activate something else. And, you know, for me, I like direct functions. So with an iOS device or a touchscreen device where I'm touching on something that's labeled, it makes it so much easier to just get to the point. So, you know, for me, I feel like I'm still not seeing a lot of, first of all, I'm not seeing a lot of companies taking advantage, like a lot of these software companies taking advantage of what you can do now with iOS devices of today. Because, I mean, I'm saying iOS because, you know, there's been some issues with Android devices over the years, latency and other things. And I think the development has not been really focused towards, you know, musicians in iOS or in Android domain. So I'm really just saying iOS, but I'm really speaking to the whole paradigm of touchscreen interfaces and touchscreen devices. But iOS is the dominant one, so that's why I'm saying iOS. But I feel like a lot of companies aren't really going in and really trying to make something that's like really useful and professional. There's a couple companies that have done some great stuff, like you know, Intua has a great product now. A couple other companies, you know what I mean. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of it is kind of like not sure. You know what I mean? Are we gonna do it? Or are we not gonna do it? But needless to say, you know, I won't blame the companies, but I think the stuff that is out right now, like even if you use an iMaschine or something like that, there's a lot of things that you can use right now that will allow you to accomplish and make great music if you focus on it. But I'm feeling like I'm not seeing a lot of people going all in on iOS, even in their studio. And I feel like there's so much potential to do so much more with it because it does a lot now. Like the iOS devices of today are, you know, dual core, 1 gigahertz processors. So, I mean, you can do something with that because let's be real. Like the old hardware, like, you know, this Motif and like the old MPC 2000 XL and all that, they didn't have dual core or anything in it, you know, that, and you were able to do a lot with that. So a dual core device now that's, you know, that light and that portable, you can do a lot with it. You know, with some dedicated software on it, you can do a lot with it. So I'm feeling like I'm wondering why I'm not seeing a lot more musicians just go head in, you know, as far as iOS beat making and music production goes. Because, I mean, it used to be the excuse that, okay, no, the software's not there or you can't do that much, but I mean, it's some stuff out there now. So, you know, that leads me into this next thing where, you know, I feel like a lot of the controllers now could benefit from touch screen, you know, because I think I'm talking about controllers, MIDI controllers. So when I say MIDI controllers, I'm saying, you know, devices that are made to connect to a computer or made to connect to some other MIDI device to control an instrument sound generator. So I feel like a lot of the MIDI controllers now should be standard touchscreens. Like, it's no reason for us not to be using touchscreens now. Of course, you know, it's a cost thing for, you know, if you're on that side of things, it's a manufacturer thing. Like, okay, there's cost, but beyond the cost, it's like, come on, like, we should really be there already. So, you know, that leads me to this whole topic of the MPC Touch. So the MPC Touch was announced not too long ago. And, you know, for me, the MPC Touch represents a move in the correct direction as far as MIDI controllers or MIDI devices go. I felt like when I saw it, I was like, wow, okay, somebody finally decided to take musicians to that point where we can start really utilizing touch interfaces. Because, you know, one of the problems with MIDI controllers, right? You know, if you use a MIDI controller, a lot of MIDI controllers are generic, meaning so I have to assign the controllers on this MIDI device to do specific things in whatever software I'm using. It's generic. So I'm like, well, the problem with generic is what? Stuff is not labeled. So it's an open slate. I mean, clean slate. You can do whatever you want with it. You freely assign it. But for me, like I said, going back to the hardware days, I like stuff being labeled so I know what I'm pressing and I know what I'm pressing is going to do exactly what I want. I don't want to have to remember what page was this controller assigned to that parameter on. Like, that's a headache to me. I don't like that. That slows me down. So for me, you know, the touchscreen represents a new opportunity to represent the parameter names and the controls directly on screen. So you have, you know, a one-to-one relationship. I press a button on the screen, it does the function that it says it's going to do. I didn't have to assign it to anything. It's already there. So MPC Touch now says to me, oh, we might finally be getting to that point now where stuff is not so generic in the MIDI device domain. Now, I do have some reservations about the MPC Touch because, like, for me, one of the issues with MPC Touch is that, you know, when you move from the standard MPC, even the Renaissance, to, like, the Touch, you do lose a lot of the dedicated buttons. Now, it does have, like, the standard stuff like transport control and, you know, it has the soft keys for whatever, or it looked like it had, you know, some amount of dedicated controls. But for me, one of the things that became fast about using the MPC is that it had a lot of buttons on it that were just labeled. So then you can kind of start operating at some point without having to think so much about what is this controller going to do or what is this button going to do. So I feel like with the touch, what they have to do now is use a lot of context menus to change what the actual buttons on the screen do. So it could be a lot of menu diving, like, oh, I want to get back to this, so I got to go through these menus. See, and that's my reservation. Now, I haven't used the MPC Touch at all, so I might just be, you know, jumping the gun about, you know, my reservations. But overall, that's my main concern, is that you have so many dedicated buttons that are missing now that it might make the workflow a little bit more cumbersome in a way. But at the same time, you know, even using like, right now I have BeatMaker software on here. So even that has a lot of controls that are basically hidden in other menus, which is fine. Like, you know, for example, if I want to go on BeatMaker here and then I want to go to edit that clap or whatever, you know, I can touch the, you know, tuning right here, for example, and I can get the tuning, or I can reverse it. You know, so I mean, context-based menus are fine for the most part, as long as it's easily accessible. I feel like if they made the touch where the menus are laid out well and I can easily access different menus, like I can get to sampler real quick, or I can get to the MIDI piano roll real quick and edit stuff and then get out of it and not have to like do a lot of weird menu diving and stuff, then it could be a real cool thing. And I think that a lot of MIDI controllers and hybrid systems will have to go in that direction. It won't be it won't be any benefit to have like these generic things anymore, because generic to me at this point in time is unnecessary. We shouldn't be dealing with generic MIDI controllers. So yeah, the MPC Touch for me represents forward movement in this domain of hybrid, hardware software solutions. So I'm interested to see how it works. I'm really interested in playing with one. I'm also interested to see if there will be any manufacturers that decide to go fully hardware versus doing this hybrid thing. Just because, like I said, I've been using like BeatMaker app and the BeatMaker BeatMaker 2 app. I can hook up a MIDI controller to it or multiple MIDI controllers to it if I want to, just using a USB hub, and then I have like a full system that I can go take around with me wherever I went. Like I was saying earlier, I just went on a cruise and I was making beats on the joint like I was at home, but I just had a smaller setup. So I can really see people, some manufacturers may be going in a direction where they just do like a full-on embedded system where it's just like a standalone computer with maybe one of those, Atom, whatever the Atom CPU processors in it, and then it's just like it's something that is portable. It has a built-in audio interface. It has MIDI connectivity, and it has a built-in sequencer, sampler, and all that. I can really see that being a cool direction for some manufacturers. I don't think that'll be it for everybody, but overall, I feel like that's a direction that this MPC Touch thing could kind of spark. And like I could see other folks just saying, okay, well, keyboard MIDI controllers should have touch screens now, so they're gonna start making the keyboard MIDI controllers have touch screens instead of it being this whole generic thing or the scribble strip thing. And I think let me preface this by saying I think scribble strips are a great touch. Like when I first got the Novation remote, maybe that had to been 2007. I thought the scribble strip was a great way to represent parameters, because before, like I said, it was empty. You could assign things freely, but you had to remember how you assigned it. So the scribble strip was like, okay, I can see what parameter does what on each button and on each knob. So then it takes out the guessing game. But at the same time, the problem with that was, okay, if I'm not connected to the remote or the Novation AutoMap software, then I lose out on that functionality. It becomes generic again, and I didn't like that. So, now I feel like with touchscreens, we might be able to do a lot more with it. It's still going to be dependent on software. Software still has to send, some type of information to the keyboards or whatever MIDI controllers. But I think that it's gonna, like, this MPC Touch thing is really gonna start a trend that is favorable for musicians overall. So it's a positive thing, and even though I've been like Team Machine for a long time, that's just what it is. But at the same time, I use it all. You see right here, I got a Renaissance as well. You know what I mean? I got different pieces of equipment that do different things for me. So I'm not like closed-minded about what I use at all. I've never been closed-minded. I've always been the type of person that wanted to see what was going to give me an advantage, and I would use it. If anything that comes out could give me an advantage and increase or improve my workflow, I'm all for it. So I just think, the MPC Touch, regardless of whether even if it doesn't work that well, I think that it's going to start a really cool trend for musicians, and then you're going to start seeing things improve, and the interfaces are going to have to be more well thought out. Now, one of the problems is still going to be how to make everything communicate with each other, because with iOS, you have the whole benefit of the software being on the actual hardware device, so it's a full system, and we don't have to worry about communication as much. And with software that use like Interapp Audio or Audio Bus or some of the other connectivity applications or software that's in iOS domain, it makes it a lot easier to work with other software. But I think VST is great, but I still feel like a lot of stuff is not standardized in VST, so you're gonna have these issues where MIDI controllers or these MIDI controllers are gonna have to work with other companies to like really make it all come together. So yeah, I mean those are my thoughts, kind of like on the iOS and just the touchscreen interfaces in general. I mean, I really have fun with it. I really enjoy what I can do on just the iPad. Like I can really bang out on the iPad and not feel like I'm missing a beat at all. Especially when I use like one of the things that was holding me back before was using MIDI controllers on iOS, but now you can hook up a camera kit and use, like, if you want to use a powered hub for your larger MIDI controllers, then you just hook a powered hub up to it and you're in the game. And it's like you really can't beat that, because I prefer taking my iPad over a laptop, just because it's just more portable, it's more straight to the point, and like I said, I'm more into the touch interface, so it's more engaging to me. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna keep doing this some more. I just wanted to start off by just talking a little bit about what I've been doing, because I've been having fun in the studio. I have a lot of fun, like with the I play another beat that I did on this weekend while I was on the cruise. Like I've had a lot of fun just making beats on this thing, and it just feels more engaged. It feels more straight to the point. You know what I mean? So let me see here. Play this beat real quick. And I just had my LPK MIDI controller. I didn't have anything crazy hooked up to it, just an LPK. So yeah, just having fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun, and that's I'm really a proponent of having fun with beat making. Like if it's feeling like too much of a task, it's like, what's the point? What are we doing? Like, I should be having fun as well, because I feel like the computer makes things a lot easier for you to accomplish stuff. But at the same time, I don't want to feel like I'm doing a spreadsheet or doing a book report. Like, I want to be having fun. So for me, too much keyboard, too much mouse, that's not fun for me. And I'm not knocking anybody that can, do what they do with just a keyboard and a mouse, or just a keyboard for that matter. Because I know a lot of people that can just do like their whole beat with that and like make bangers. But for me, I'm just more of a hands-on person. I like to be able to touch things, move things around, go directly to the things. the mouse for me has always been like the most frustrating thing. I mean, honestly, the mouse is it to me. The mouse does not represent my hand or my mind in an accurate way. So the mouse and trackpad, trackball, whatever, same thing for me. They're supposed to represent an extension of your mind, and it's supposed to allow your mind to process movements that will reflect your hands intentions or your hands ability to grab and move things in the physical domain and translates that into a digital action. And for me, that's not a good way of representing my hand, because it's like, okay, think about this for a second. A mouse, when you use a mouse, the digital representation of your hand is this in the computer world. It's this. That's what your hand becomes. So to me, if that's all I got is this, just one finger that's pointing towards some thing in the digital space, to me, that's a limitation. That's a major limitation. Because God gave us this. And the fact that we have a thumb, opposable thumbs and all of that, I mean, it makes a big difference in how you can navigate in the world. Like, if you didn't have a thumb, you'd be in trouble. It'd be a lot of stuff you couldn't do. But the fact that we have 5 fingers and not just one really should make you think about what the mouse represents or the cursor represents in the digital world. It's just this. It's just an index finger. Right? So I have an index digit in the digital world that points at stuff and says, oh, move that there. Move that there. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But, with iOS and touchscreen, being able to gesture, move things around, it's a big difference. Totally big difference. Total big difference. And I think that it just really makes the whole experience closer to what you can do in the real world. So, anyhow, that's just my spiel for the past, what I'm at, 30 minutes or whatever. I'm going to keep doing this. I enjoy talking to you guys. I think that I said this in the past, but I really feel like Ustream or streaming in general is just a better route for me to continue doing videos. I like getting on here and talking and stuff to y'all about talking shop. So I welcome y'all to join me, and I'll put the notices out in the future just to let you know beforehand so that you can prepare, because I already know, like, I just got on here randomly. I'll put the broadcast up on my YouTube or somewhere so you can look at a replay, and we just keep it going. But I love to hear back from y'all. Let's keep talking shop. I mean, that's what I do. I'm about talking shop, about like advancing the culture, about advancing how to just be able to do better as a professional beat maker or as a hobbyist beat maker. Because I've represented both. I'm on the professional side, but I've been the hobbyist as well. And you still want to get better. If you take it seriously, you want to get better. So I'm just talking about stuff. Intellectually, I like talking about stuff on a philosophical level. I also like talking about real practical stuff. So let's just keep it going. Let's get it in. All right. So until next time, peace.